Hello, and welcome to Soft Human Voice. This is a podcast dedicated to helping you to remember your source divine connection. You are not alone. You are loved. You are wise. You're intuitive, and you have way more co-creative power than you think. And so we're going to remember this together today. I'm Jessica Shepard. I'm an astrologer, an intuitive guide, and author of 5 books and counting, including my first book, A Love Alchemist Notebook, Magical Secrets for Drawing Your True Love into Your Life. So I host this podcast, Soft Human Voice. I write on Substack. It's a companion newsletter called Soft Human Words. And I also do Qigong, soft human movement. So I've got a whole suite of soft offerings, and you can learn more about me and my work at jessicashepard.substack.com. But I am very excited to talk to my guest today, which is Randy Spelling. I'm going to introduce him first by reading his bio, and then you can say hello, Randy. Randy is a life coach, an author, and speaker, and is the head of Randy Spelling Coaching. Growing up in one of Hollywood's most famous families, he witnessed firsthand that money and fame do not create freedom or happiness, but our daily choices do. Using his natural intuitive abilities and 17 years of coaching experience, he helps people to see the choices they didn't realize they had so they can transform themselves to create more freedom, success, presence, and happiness in their lives. Exclamation mark. I really loved how many exclamation marks you actually used in your bio, Randy. I'm a big fan of exclamation marks.
I have an exclamation mark addiction. Okay. It's bad. And I'm not going to apologize for it.
Don't apologize for it. I think it communicates enthusiasm, excitement, and it's very energy generative for me to actually just be like, yes, somebody else does it.
Yes. And I guess the new generation is all for this, because if I don't put an emoji or some sort of exclamation, my daughters think I'm upset or mad. So,
oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is a kind of the era of learning how to communicate all over again, right?
It is. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for agreeing to be here and to kind of be with our listeners today on a topic that is very close to my heart, which is sensitivity. And that's kind of what Randy and I decided we were going to explore today. And when we were talking before this podcast, Randy, you asked me a cool question, which was about the name of Soft Human Voice and Soft Human Words. Why soft? And I kind of went into this explanation about sensitivity, but I've been kind of meditating on that, or it's just been coming back to me, all the soft. And so what are we doing here with the soft? And I was thinking, well, when our nervous system goes into hypervigilance, we get hard. Our muscles tense, right? Or when we reach a edge in ourselves, or an untruth, or a discomfort, if we're not softening, we tend to harden. We tend to hold a particular posture against discomfort. And I think because I've experienced a number of discomforts being sensitive throughout my life, not only just talking about energy sensitivity, but also I've had chronic pain on and off for most of my life. And so softening has been huge for me, creating that soft space, right? And embodying soft. And it kind of has turned into so much of a thing for me, I realized after talking with you and you kind of bringing that word up for me. So I want to thank you for just kind of heightening my awareness around soft, because it really has I want my life to feel soft. It's really that's what it's about.
Yeah. I'm glad that there was some curiosity around that word, because it's so much of what you do. I mean, even sharing your podcast, your books, your Substack, soft shows up in everything. And as you know, words are so powerful and intentional that we could probably talk for an hour about defining and redefining soft and hard and what it means and our relationship to it. So I think it's always fun when I would ask that in the context of this conversation, that anything we say, whether it's soft or whether it's the word sensitive, that we come to this with new eyes and new curiosity versus the association of sensitive. Because I know for me, and I know working with a ton of people who have also been told that they are sensitive, the association to that word isn't always a positive one. Right? And then you take any other word and you're like, success. Ooh, what's my association to that? Or money or sex or anything. And it's so important to play around with what words mean and how we're meaning it today with who we are versus who we've been in the past.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm such a word nerd, being an author, but you're reminding me that when I first started doing work on healing my relationship to my sensitivity, the word sensitive itself was a big trigger. Like, because it always was couched by overly or too, right? Or the cultural kind of jargon around it that is basically that, but not named. So I remember one of my teachers said, well, let's reframe this. You know, what sensitivity is being highly aware. So you're more aware of fields, you're more aware of energy, you're more aware of nuance, you're more aware of nervous system responses, you're more aware of all of it. So let's just call more. And that really like shifted that understanding for me so that I could start to move out of a position of shame or, you know, vulnerability around it.
Yeah. Because it really felt that when people would say someone is too sensitive, especially at a time of growing up or where you are comparing yourself to peers, it feels that you're either less than or you're too much of something, right? It's right. Too much emotion. You're not able to hold, or, you know, as a man growing up, hearing that, or someone would say, oh, you're so sensitive. That was a horrible blow, as if somehow I wasn't as manly or as same as other people. So then I thought, oh, there's something wrong with me. I'm not okay.
Right.
And, it's been a journey to redefine and renegotiate that term in a way that is empowering.
And it's like, why shouldn't it be when you kind of get to a certain point in your growth where it's like, wait a second, this is what everybody actually wants when they're down on their knees. They want sensitivity. They want what sensitivity offers. They want the care. They want the kindness, the depth, the richness, the attunement. Who doesn't like that stuff? So I feel you on that. And I know, I'm sure it's different being masculine, being, you know, embodying the masculine, conditioning. So do you want to talk a little bit more about that and your kind of navigating your own upbringing with sensitivity?
Yeah. I mean, I have this story where I think I was in 3rd or 4th grade, and as these things go with kids, one day I looked upon this girl, Michelle, who I had seen every day for, I don't know, 3-4 years. But this particular day, I liked her and had a crush on her. And after 3-4 days, I think I wrote a little note and I said, will you go out with me or be my girlfriend? I don't even know what that means in 3rd or 4th grade, but she said yes. I was over the moon. And 2 days later, she wanted to break up. And I remember my sister coming home, and I was in bed after school, hysterically crying, sobbing with a box of tissues. And she said, "Oh my God, what's wrong?" And I said, "Michelle broke up with me." And that is just one example of how I felt things so incredibly deeply. I mean, I would lose at a board game and I would cry. My emotions were always here.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, when I was very young, I could feel people's emotions. I would take in the world around me in a very deep way. And of course, at that age, I have no tools,
right,
to know what to do with that, or even interpret how I'm feeling, why I'm feeling. But I would be feeling, reading the people around me, and then I would show up the way that I think I needed to show up in order to get what I wanted, whether that was, ultimately it was love and attention. So it would be, does this make you happy? Is this, me seeking approval so that you will be happy? So I'll get more of what I want. And I think so many people do this without understanding why, but hence this then turns into people pleasing. It turns into me putting my needs second, even though very interesting, what a lot of people who identify as sensitives or empaths or empathic, even at that age, it wasn't necessarily putting my needs first. And I had been told that it was, but it actually isn't now that I know more, because I think from a survivalistic place, we are looking to do just that, survive.
Mm-hmm.
Survival when you're young is love, is connection. So my primary need was that. So I would use my senses as best I could to try to get attention and love, which in turn keeps me alive, which feeds me.
Mm-hmm.
So I share this because with the word empath also comes a lot of like, ooh, well, that some people are like, yes, I'm an empath. But also there can be a negative side to that. Because taking on everyone's energy is not necessarily the most hygienic emotionally and spiritually that you can be. So you have to learn tools and boundaries around it. So I think it's really important to note that even when you are doing that, there is this inherent underlying need to get what you want when you're little. And then that just turns into habit.
Mm-hmm.
And it's about shifting the habit so that you can be more, you can have more agency over it as to when and where and how you use it versus being used by it or other people.
Wow. Absolutely. Well said. Well said. Empath. Yes. To me, it means something different than maybe how culture presents it. Being an empath means I'm going to have to really do some work to make sure that my energy field stays clear of whether projection, other people's stuff, or if I'm running an old pattern that was connected to childhood survival and conditioned response, because we do these things for a reason. People pleasing worked for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. It kept us alive, right? I really resonate with the people pleasing that you're naming, because, that's what I learned as well. It's like, well, if I'm going to survive this environment, it's very unpeaceful. the way I experience my environment. And so I'm going to do everything I can to soothe, to relax, to make better, and that doesn't work when you're an adult. That doesn't work when you get older.
It doesn't. And the beauty is that in relationship, whether it's with partners, friends, coworkers, children, you get to see your patterns very clearly and see, okay, what am I pulling through from the past that just isn't working for me anymore in the ways that I need to show up now? And we get to re-examine our patterns. Right.
It's a privilege growing. It's a responsibility. Yeah, getting to grow out of our survival habits, and it's not something that everybody undertakes immediately, but sooner or later, many of us do. What do you feel like was a pivotal moment for you in your own growth as a person, as a healer, as the Randy we see today, where you saw that these habits weren't working for you anymore? You were able to have some capacity to start looking at new ways of being and maybe reframing some of the sensitivity? Yeah.
Yeah. So for me, my catalysts were, the hardest experiences in my life, my struggles, my pitfalls are the things that became the catalysts toward my change, that put me on the path to look at my patterns. And it took me a while to really fully get that, without judgment, without the bypassing of, okay, yes, my past has led me to here. Sounded great as concept, but to really feel it in my body to the point where I can smile and say, and laugh and say, wow, I went through some really dark stuff and some, almost life-ending moments various times in my life. And yet, walking through all of that turmoil and surviving those choppy seas is what gave me the stew and the ingredients to then look at what is not working in this recipe and how do I reformulate all of these ingredients to find what it is I really want to wind up with. So to be specific, I struggled with addiction. Really, I started drinking at about the age of 13. I would say addiction really started, though, at about 18, 19, slowly, and then really took hold at 21. And I went through a handful of years of my friends thinking that I was going to die. There were a couple times, one friend of mine who's pretty big and strong had to bust down my door because he thought I was dead and I was passed out in my apartment. I ended up getting 2 DUIs, having to enroll in courses and classes. And I was kind of a mess. I thought at times I could keep it together, but I just wasn't. And I was trying to deal with all of the pain that I had built up through my life. Being sensitive was part of that because, again, I felt everything so deeply. I took on everything, but I had no way of expressing that. I had no way to vocalize that. I didn't have the language yet in order to talk about it. I got into therapy, but at that point it was too late. It was sort of like trying to chase whatever the root was. And I just kept trying to fill this void that I had of not enoughness, of like numb my pain that I feel. And I would numb it for the night, but then I would wake up and I would be hungover. I'd feel terrible and my problems were all still there. And it got to a point where in 2006, my father passed away. It was public. And so I had to, grieve for the loss of my father. I was shooting a reality show at the time. I was in the entertainment business, and that was very exposing in the sense I had cameras on me. It wasn't scripted. So I had cameras on me pretty much 24 hours a day. It was so inauthentic to how I actually was. So I'm dealing with addiction. My father passes away. It's very public. And I say the wheels came off the bus. It was a train wreck and I was hurting. And so there was one night where I'd been up for about 2 days and it was 4 a.m. or so. Everyone had left my apartment. And it's so funny, Jessica, because I had an apartment and I had some crystals and I had plants and I had, Ganesh and a Buddha and like all these sort of masters and deities and crystals. And on the outside, you could see what I was into and how I was. On the inside, the outside environment didn't matter. The inside was withering and I just had enough. And I said, I don't know who can hear me. Dad, if you can hear, I called him Pops. So it was a Pops, God, guides, masters, spirits, my team. I don't want to live like this anymore.
Wow.
I went through 3 or 4 years deeply connected to my soul. I had some really deep, impactful, meditative experiences to connect with consciousness, sober. So I knew what true connection felt like. And I knew that this was the epitome of disconnection. So I said, I want to live like that. I feel that I'm here to make a difference, to make an impact, to help people. I don't know what that is. I don't know how to do it. But if I'm supposed to do that, then help me. If not, then please take me out. I'm done. I don't want this anymore. And that set a snowball reaction into effect. And 2 weeks later, I checked into a rehab of my choosing. I did some research. I picked a place in Utah. I went and I was pretty committed. And I got out, flailed a little bit for a few months, and then stayed sober and never really looked back.
Wow. What a journey. Thank you for sharing that. And these moments where we're brought to our knees, it's like, you're like, I know what it feels like, who I want to be and the type of energy I want to be in, but I'm not in it. I'm not in it on the inside. That's a blessing that you actually knew that beforehand, that you knew that place existed for you, right? Like that there is a clearer, more connected way of being, probably helped you identify how disconnected you were.
It saved my life for sure. I wrote a book in 2014 called Unlimiting You, Step Out of Your Past and Into Your Purpose. And I share this, that addiction to me is disconnection.
Yeah.
So many things, fear, disconnection. Because if we were really truly connected and knew that we were connected, you can't have two sides of the same coin. And so all this separation that I was feeling, all this is clearly just disconnection. And so when I understood that, and I needed a little time so I could look back in hindsight and retrospect, and looking back going, oh, I was disconnected. And yet the thing that saved my life was having experiences that were so connected that I could reach for a reference point and say, that's my reference point, and that is what I'm truly after. And I'm not living that right now. And
it often strikes me that it only takes Like, okay, so you knew that feeling of connection. You identified it with a period of time. Sometimes some of us, and speaking from my own experience, I've identified that, I only have a thimbleful of that connection. I only have an understanding or feeling experience. It only feels like a thimble to me right now. It doesn't have to be big. It doesn't have to be 4 years. It can be a thimble. It can be a thimble full of connection. As long as you can sense what that feels like, it can be like the thread that leads you through this maze. It doesn't have to be the big, massive aha moment, even though your experience clearly has that catalytic and big. But I mean, I think on that kind of inward level, I'm just really picking up on like that contrast between disconnection and connection and how much of a beacon that can be for anybody.
Yes. And just to be very honest, I think it's hard sometimes, right? As people who are in any sort of helping, healing profession, you at least have some experience of moving through things, right? When you're in it, it wasn't, this is so easy and I feel connected. It was fog all around me. And many times, I mean, even now, if I'm struggling with something, a decision that I have to make, or, oh gosh, there's 2 paths here and I'm struggling with which way to go, it still is painful dealing with uncertainty. It still can be hard and uncomfortable not knowing how to navigate something or which way is right. And sometimes, like you said, it just takes connecting inward, going inward, and finding a word, a color, a symbol, anything, an image, something that leads you to feel some form of connection. And we don't always get the answers. I wish. But when I go in and I have a heart-to-heart with spirit or soul, and I'm like, okay, what do I do here? I don't always get a long drawn out, here are the 8 steps that you need to do, Randy, to move forward.
If you do, I'm going to sign up for your client work tomorrow.
When I'm working with someone, those come. But with me, I have to do various exercises. I might have to draw for 2 minutes, like automatic drawing, and and then I'll look, and funny enough, an answer will be there, or I'll go into meditation, or I'll sit. And that's what I mean. It's not this big, grandiose, all of a sudden I'm so connected and I feel my right answer. It's still uncomfortable. But when I can move over into connection and let go of anxiety or let go of fear, there is a subtle, soft, or maybe sometimes not so soft way forward that emerges.
I notice that there's space. What happens for me is it's just, I mean, sometimes it's soft, sometimes it's got a different texture, but it's kind of like moreness. There's more of you there. And I'm loving what you're saying. It kind of, I'm thinking of like dispelling the myth of the healer, or dispelling. How funny your name's spelling.
I never thought of dis-spelling, but I like it.
Interesting. Yeah, okay. Like dispelling the Randy spellingness of how we can, as healers, or have that projected onto us. This must not ever feel uncomfortable for you. This must be natural, innate, easy for you because you're just, spouting all this wisdom and you are clearly so connected. And I mean, from my experience, I feel discomfort every day. I'm a human being. And the opportunity and the invitation, I should say, within that discomfort is to always connect more deeply. Whether that is through, like you said, drawing or inner listening, or, I do Qigong, I regulate my nervous system, I do grounding practices, I do art as well, automatic writing. There's so many different ways, but I'm naming this a little bit more because this theme has came up in one of my last calls, my last podcast. There seems to be maybe something in the air around more permission to just connect in all these different ways as humans. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Are you noticing that?
Two things in what you said. Number one, old paradigm is the guru expert paradigm. And I think, whether it's the coaching industry or everything exploded to where everyone was trying to position themselves as expert. And I don't even want to necessarily hear the word expert. I want to know that you know what it's like to go through what I'm struggling with. And if I can connect with you knowing what it's like to struggle with my same struggles, then I have a little bit more buy-in. I have understanding. And I think it is a slippery slope when people put other people on a pedestal and say, oh, they know everything. They have it all figured out. Everything is so easy for them, because when you do that, the human mind compares right away. And the immediate comparison is, I'm not there.
I'm not there yet.
I'm not enough of, I'm less than. And that's what we want to do away with as much as possible. So that's why I share things that, and I'm sure you do too, that humanizes these spiritual experience, because the more you can humanize it, the more people have permission to go, oh, he struggles too, or, oh, it's not as easy for him. Okay, so maybe I'm not so far behind or so far off. I can start this now. Because otherwise you look at someone who sounds really knowledgeable, really wise, they have it all figured out, and you go, it's going to take years. I'm never going to get there. So I'm not even going to start or try.
Right. And I think there's something with the starting. Maybe it's the year of the horse. Maybe it's the Aries energy that we're experiencing. What it is, it feels like there's a threshold that maybe as healers, we're inviting people to cross over and into, like, come play with us. It's not always comfortable. It's a lot of experimentation on my part. It's a lot of that felt disconnected and returning to connection. And what does disconnection feel like? And what does connection feel like? It's finding ways through, and it's keeping curiosity open, and it's asking questions. But it's definitely like, going through that first door of like, oh, what would it be like to try Qigong? What would it be like to meditate? What would it be like to do a class with Randy? What would that be like? It's those first steps I'm feeling into a little bit more than normal. And also just like the influencer thing that we all love so much. It's kind of painful see these kind of new generation of healers without being, I don't want to judge or shame anybody. I just want to say that when you show us this perfect image all the time and then tell us that you're opening the, all your secrets to how you make $1 million and the love of your life and stuff.
Right. Yeah.
Right? Like, I got my soulmate and I'm going to show, but then you're presenting this perfect image too. And then you're sharing your wisdom. It's just, it's not, like you said, the human mind will compare. It'll say you're over here and I'm over here. And I don't think it's a matter of intelligence. I think it's a human thing and even I get caught up in doing that. Right. And so yes. I've been registering just like, instead of seeing that as like, this person is saying, da 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 da. And then I often have the thought, I wonder if I'd like them if they were like sitting in front of me.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. It's very different. Talking with someone online or doing a podcast with someone or having an interview and then sitting with them for lunch.
Yeah.
Right. And sitting and just going back and forth. I want to highlight something that you said, though, because I think it's really important. And I want to sort of like carry this this line through. Curiosity. What if I tried Qigong? What would it be like to? What would it be like to be more like so-and-so? When you look at it through the lens of curiosity, you get to fill in the answer to that question, as opposed to the mind already jumping to conclusions and filling in the blanks without you being aware of it. And I think that's what happens through social media and this snap, millisecond comparison is the scrolling, the listening to the message. It's filling in the blanks versus giving just a pause enough to take in something, put it down and say, what would it be like if I were there helping people? What is it that I would do? What subject would I like to share? Then when you get that answer, you might go, so what would I need to do in order to start? That line of questioning with curiosity brings awareness. And it's totally different than comparing and then filing away that conclusion that the mind has already made, because the conclusion that typically comes up is going to be an old answer that comes from what is already there, that's wrote in the critical part of your mind.
Absolutely. Thank you for jumping on that and going a little more deeply into that idea of these kind of, subconscious, really, snap statements that happen so quickly nowadays, especially because we're taking in so much, right? That pause, like, I love that word. Just taking that critical pause, what if I just paused and, as I'm noticing what I'm feeling, I just paused and asked myself a question, right? I think that there needs to be like that space to even ask the question, because things are happening so rapid, like the neurons and the conditioning and the everything, and the digital is what, yeah.
It is, Jessica. And anyone listening to this who identifies as being sensitive, being intuitive, feeling energy, feeling emotion, we have to be even more careful with what we take in and what is actually coming through the filters. So, for instance, the more I cleared the cobwebs, the more connected I got, the more embodied I became, the more I realized that it was vital that I be aware of the content that was coming in. For instance, I don't watch scary movies or horror films anymore because of the way that it makes me feel. I'm very imagery driven. Images stay with me. Songs stay with me. Moods stay with me. So when I am watching something like that and pick up on that, that stays with me for 3 days. So I have to be very mindful. This might not be everyone's story, but I have to be very mindful. How do I feel after sitting down for 2 hours watching this piece of content? Or with food. I just ate this huge bowl of pasta. How do I feel right now? If you feel great, amazing.
I was going to say, if you just ate a huge bowl of pasta, like I was thinking you were actually saying that. I thought, oh my God, you're doing really wonderful.
Oh, no. No, I would be KO'd in the corner.
Okay.
No, but again, this is knowing myself. During a work day, I won't even have a sandwich with bread. I have to be careful not to eat foods that are too heavy, because energetically, I am holding a container for a lot of people and doing sessions with people that energy is my superpower during the day, right? So if that goes down and I'm going, oh my gosh, I'm feeling so full and heavy, I'm not at my best. Mm-hmm. So it's just really important. And I think this is, again, through a lens of curiosity. Okay, yes, I do. I can feel things when I walk into a room. I can feel the vibe. Mm-hmm. Great. There's nothing wrong with you. That's not bad. That's not this is your wiring. Mm-hmm. So now that you understand your wiring, you get to make choices based off of your wiring. It's just important to be aware of what feeds you, mm-hmm. what connects you, and what disconnects you.
What feeds you, what connects you, and what disconnects you. I like that. I like that a lot. Yeah, I was just thinking of radical self-care, radical self-love as you were talking, because I feel like as sensitives, empaths, you just identify as a highly sensitive person. It's just this, the more you have things bounce off of you in the environment, or the more you have your emotions go up. These are all opportunities to get to know yourself, get to know how you work. I'm not sure that my levels of sensitivity and kind of how my nervous system works is the same as even other people's sensitivity. You know? Yeah. Like I don't even, but I ask questions. Certainly, I ask questions a lot. How does this feel? How do I feel when I'm around this person? How do I feel when I'm watching this on TV? And then, like, sometimes it's not immediate for me. I don't know if it works this way for you, but there was my pest guy came because we have a lot of pests in Hawaii. I love all creatures, but not in my house. So my pest guy came today, and he had a little interaction with his son that was not kind. And I had to leave the room, and I was in such a good space. And I just kind of mentally noted what just happened, and I created a boundary, but I didn't feel it until I went back into the room. And then I had to get on a call with somebody, and she goes, "Are you feeling upset?"
Yeah.
And I went, "No, there was a dynamic that just happened, and I'm processing it." Mm-hmm. So it's really about self-awareness and then taking the steps. Like, I'm like, okay, how am I going to process this energy? Well, I know me, it'll probably continue throughout the call. So I have to make room for discomfort. And I also have to make room for me. Like, I want to have a certain quality experience with this person. So I'm going to stay in my body, and I'm going to use the tools that I know how to use to stay embodied and in connection and in myself. And then sure enough, got off the Zoom with her, and the energy dissipated instantly. But, you know, this is all like in service of like self-awareness and kind of becoming more aware of how things affect you. What do you need to do to take care of yourself? If you're sensitive, it's definitely food and television and things that you consume and energies and people. It's also things people you may not even see. They may have passed through that space.
Yeah. So what do you do? I mean, let's say you're doing stuff throughout your day, you run a few errands, and you've absorbed energy. Do you have a practice or something that you like to do that helps to sort of dissipate that energy, clear it?
So I don't know if I would say that I absorb energy anymore, interestingly enough. I would say that I register it.
Okay.
And there's a difference for me. And one is being overtaken, like, and not having a sense of myself, or, like, all of a sudden I think I have a mental illness or something. I mean, like, it can be that extreme. Like, oh, that's not me. At this point, I become like aware of, dysresonant energies. I still have an awareness of myself, of me being independent of that. And I do energy practices twice a day. I release, I clear release with the light. with my connection. So I recenter into connection, and it is still that same idea of going from disconnection back into connection. I'm working with that in that way. Yeah.
Beautiful. Okay.
Yeah. How about you? Do you have, you named some for us, which is so, these, what we're consuming is so important, food wise and media wise. Do you have a practice?
Yeah, I have many. Movement for me is something really big and very helpful. So for me, getting into the body is very helpful. I can tend to sort of leave body very easily. So getting in the body, moving, lifting something heavy, pushing, pulling, or doing some form of cardio, right? Where I'm feeling that is helpful. And I find that I am less likely to have leaky boundaries or absorb energy, if you will, when I am more in my body, when I'm aware of myself and my energy field. So I like to move.
I think that's the distinction I was making there with between absorbing and being aware of energy, is that like there's a body awareness, there's fullness in oneself. Like I can tell where I am in this equation. I can feel behind my heart. I can feel my butt on the chair, and I'm not vibrating in some other dimension.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And that practice is so important. I mean, I can't tell you how many people through the years in coaching groups, private clients, I have recommended, and it sounds so simple, but someone's dealing with anxiety. They're really stressed about something. There's a decision that they have to be made, that they have to make. And I will say, are you moving? Mm-hmm. And I'll recommend some form of exercise. And, it's not a 20-step process that's so convoluted. Just that alone usually moves the needle for people enough. Does it change everything? No.
Yeah.
Enough, though, that when their nervous system can depress, when it's less anxious, when it's less activated and it can go down, then that revving in the body tends to dissipate.
Yeah.
Thought comes back, awareness comes back. Then it is easier to ask the questions or to have clarity. I find that when someone is in a very heightened and activated state, like even if they're just sitting and I'm on the screen with someone, if they're coming in up here, it helps to listen to voice. It helps to do, but it still takes a good 10 to 20 minutes where their cells in their body can relax enough to then be open to do the deeper work.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. So that's sort of a practice for me that I have found is a must. It's a must for me to exercise in some capacity because I am an energetic person. And if there's too much energy running through my body, I tend to lose my space a little bit more than sit in the seat of my soul.
Absolutely. I mean, it's all energy, right? And so we're talking about moving energy when you're talking about exercise, and I'm talking about moving energy when I talk about doing energy clearing. I'm literally, if I may start with visualizing, or typically don't. I'm a really sensation oriented person, so I'll typically focus on a sensation and then just draw it down my body into the ground, and I'll keep doing that. That's moving energy. So if we live in an energy world and we're constantly being, bombarded with energy, because that's the way the world is, and people make energy with their emotions, and planets make energy, and it's all happening. And beautiful trees make really good energy that we want more of. But I mean, it's all energy. So it makes a lot of sense when you use physical activity, you know, and that like creates this coherence in our energy field, moving out stagnation, moving out interference, stuckness, other people's junk, whatever it is, to feel safe again, right? Because what we're talking about, I think, is regulating the nervous system, right? Dropping down versus being up here. So like when people know the nervous system, you can feel it. You can feel that, like, even I'm going like this, I can feel it in my body. When my awareness is lower and deeper, I have more resource.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Love it. What a rich conversation this has been. And
I know. It's been fun.
It's just been so delightful. You're the first person I've gotten to talk to about sensitivity who's wanted to go there on the podcast. Yeah. You were I was like, whoa, what a cool surprise. So thank you for showing up in this way and just helping us all. I mean, we're all sensitive, whether we realize it or not. And what we're talking about here, some of us may have a more heightened awareness, right? But whether you are aware or not, things are happening. And oftentimes, you know, people distract with technology or addictions from the field that's constantly influencing us. And so we have to, if we want to be healthy, if we want to be present and in our calling, especially those of us with a sensitive awareness, but I think all of us can benefit from these type of practices and kind of awareness of how things affect us, right?
Absolutely. You lose nothing from connecting more deeply to yourself. You lose nothing from knowing yourself more. And I'd venture to say that if you don't lose, then you're going to gain and your life becomes more enriched. I just had a conversation with someone the other day, and he went on a trip to Mexico. Didn't want to go, very stressed out, lots of stuff happening at work, but he went. And I said, you're going to have a great time. Might take a day or two to decompress, but you're going to have a great time. Came back, great time. But there was something that he mentioned to me that really stuck out to me that, if you don't mind, I'd love to share. He said, I'm missing spirituality. And that's all he needed to say. And I knew exactly what happened. And I proceeded to say, did something like this happen? And I shared, you can be at a nice hotel. You could have all the food. It was all inclusive. And they were, you know, the service was amazing. And you're seeing the blue water and the waves lapping on the shore and the crystal white sand, and picture perfect, what dreams are made of. And yet, where do you go from there? You can say, well, okay, this is a nice resort. Next time I want to go to a nicer resort. How could the service be any better? Or, well, we're going to take a longer vacation, or, you know, I want to do more of this. But there's only so much more externally that you can do till you get to a point that you realize the depth and the richness that one is really searching for. Most people, right? I can't say everyone. Is an inner experience. Mm-hmm. It's something where you feel connected. All of what you see is a bonus, but you could be walking on the street and you look to your left and you see the humanness in someone and you feel that same connection internally. You don't necessarily need all of the best or the most beautiful. what that highlights when you do see all of that is if you're still stressed or you're still searching for, but I want more, that's the indicator. It's in here. And so I think the best type of vacation is a staycation, is finding in here what we so want to see outwardly.
I'm such a word nerd. I love that. Okay. Vacation, staycation. I used to think, why do they call it vacating?
Yeah.
How awful. Like, why do we need to vacate anything? Staycation. Yeah. So, what a great reminder that person was.
Right.
That you could be on top of it, have everything outward, wherever that, I'm imagining this, I forget what you said, but like some great tropical situation, even like what I have here. And yet my experience is in here. How do I feel? I'm looking for, at this point in my life, only how I feel, and how, if I want to dial anything up, I want to dial up my connection. And so, strategies, techniques, tools, practices, ways of being in the world, ways of holding that, ways of, I think there are moments where we have experiences like your friend or client had, where it's like, is that all there is? What's this really about for me?
Yeah. And we hear it all the time, right? Dream job, you get the dream job, dream amount of money, you get the dream amount of money, the new car that I've dreamt of since I was little, and you get that car. It's always going to be something that moves. And yes, all those things are great. I'm not saying that it's not, fun, empowering, exhilarating to have nice things or, experience a nice vacation, but it's still devoid of a deep connection. You can have all the things and still not be connected and feel that something's missing.
And that deeper connection, it is something we can talk about how to get there, but we can only experience inside of ourselves.
Yes.
So it's going to be unique how you get there. But I think the experience is universal because we're all made of the same stuff. But that is, again, why we engage curiosity and ask the question about, what would this feel like? What if I'm not happy, or if I'm at this place for more, and I'm like this hungry ghost, what is it that I really want to feel?
Exactly. Yeah.
Contentment? Okay, well, that's not happening with more. So I keep looking at my hibiscus as you're talking about this, like just kind of basking in the nature.
Beauty of the hibiscus.
Yeah. Just this just nature has that vibration of connection. Nature. Simple.
That's about my practices. One practice that I have that I recommend a lot to people that I love is a soul walk. This thing where it's very simple. Anyone can do it. Just go walk outside, raining, snowing, sunshine. It doesn't matter. Put the gear on. But go out, and for however long you're out there, at least for the first few minutes, task yourself to just use your senses, use your eyes, use your nose, and notice things. Notice birds flying in the sky. Notice branches shaking in the wind. Notice a snowflake or a little mound of snow, or notice the little shrub that's coming outside of the tiny little sidewalk crack. When you do that, you get out of here and you move into the rhythms and the vibration and the harmonies of nature which is constantly moving, constantly changing, but it has an intelligence and a rhythm that just is. It's being. And it can't be caged. It can't stay in here. It's just moving and free flowing. And when you connect to that, your energy also is able to connect to an intelligence that is going to get you out of whatever you're stressed about or whatever you're thinking about and into this divine intelligence. So I call it this sort of soul walk because it connects more to your soul self.
I think it's beautiful. Thank you. It's reminding me of a practice that hopefully my next book that will get published, but it's like I have 40 days essentially of practices. And the first day is that it's like, well, how do I get into the I am? How do I get to know who I really am? If I'm just not sure, I don't go to church. I haven't had, this experience, right? It's very similar to what you're describing. It's go out into nature and act. I mean, I think other people have had like this version where you maybe Eckhart Tolle. Now that I'm thinking about it, like you're like an alien, right? Exploring a new planet, right? And don't give anything any words. Just go into like touch, go into sight, go into vision, go into embodiment, and just allow yourself to be in your senses and take in the richness and the beauty and the vibrational quality, and then go back into your daily life eventually, like after you sink into it, and then notice the difference. But it's like, that is the I am. That is that connection. How to do that is as basic as going back to nature.
Absolutely. It's sort of the same thing as if you've ever been around young kids and you see the wonderment in kids, right? Probably not all the time, but for the most part, you can be in awe of it. They'll just play, they'll be crying, and then 2 seconds later, they'll be laughing. In nature, when you go, and I love the whole idea of pretending that you're an alien, that you're seeing this for the very first time. Because look at relationships, the honeymoon phase. You're seeing someone for the very first time. You have no expectation. There's curiosity. There's appreciation. It's, who are you? What makes you tick? Let me get to know you. Right? And then years later, sometimes that wanes, and it's just like, you didn't take out the trash, or why didn't you do this? There's all these expectations. When you go out in nature and you look at the way that branch forms on certain, bark forms on certain trees as their skin, and the design in that. And then you go to another tree, and that tree might be bare, but it has red bark. And you just look at the differences. It's a whole other world. And the reason why it's so important to do that is because we're living 99% of the time, gross exaggeration, but from here. The second, like you said, when you get in your body and you're actively looking through your eyes consciously, intentionally, you will see something new. If you're in here, you're perceiving a pinball machine and you're stuck in the machine bouncing around with all of the same activators and triggers and lights flashing. Or you're scrolling on social media and there's so much coming in that it's actually, there's stimulation going in, and then you're bouncing around in here.
So how do you expect to find yourself?
Exactly.
When you're bouncing around in all of these other energies. And that's the beauty of nature, is it allows you to, reconnect to your kind of soul energy, to this baseline of neutral, good, okay, safe, that you're not going to get from scrolling. In fact, you're probably going to, I don't know. My husband would argue with me. He says he relaxes by scrolling. And I'd say, well, you're clearly not energy sensitive in the way I am. But, I don't do it that way. And scrolling does not do that for me. But yeah, this nature is just such an ally for all of the feelings, again, for me, that going back into the body, like having a really good yoga session, like walk out feeling alive and energized, and you're seeing through fresh eyes. I would say Qigong for myself, but we all get it. So what do you recommend in terms of the soul walk? Do you recommend doing it every day? Do you recommend at least once a week? What do you do?
Yeah. So this is different than an exercise walk. This is not exercise. This is purely connecting. I would say don't do it every day at first. Mm-hmm. Try it twice a week. Put it on your schedule, or when you're feeling stressed, when you need to decompress, then go do it. Because what I would love for people to see is the juxtaposition, the difference. Yeah. If you do it every day, sometimes it gets rote where then you just get distracted and it's not as deep and powerful. At a time that it's needed, if you can, I know this is the hardest thing for people to do, is like the time in need. It's the hardest time to use the tool, but put it on your calendar and just do it. And if you are stressed, if there's something that you're thinking about, just go out, let it go, and tune into nature, and go just look at things and notice what you haven't noticed before, and get in a rhythm of walking. Feel yourself in your body. And as trite as this sounds, the privilege of being in a body, the privilege of being energy that has slowed down enough to have a physical, dense body that you can hold someone with, you can drink, you can taste, you can eat, you can use your senses to experience the world in a way that energy can't. So while we're here, as much as everyone's fighting, like, I'm not coming back here, this is crazy. Just like you would make a choice to walk outside to do this soul walk, perhaps you made the choice to come in as energy into this body to experience all the things that you are able to experience. And maybe that gives some perspective and insight.
I think it does. I appreciate that so much. I appreciate you looking at our time. And I think that this is probably a good place to wind up, because I want to say also there's this part of me that just wanted to go into other directions. So I'm acknowledging that, that it's been really easy, to follow threads with you and, to take this conversation into a really, really lovely terrain. So I thank you for that. I thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. It's been a pleasure to sit and talk with you and share space and privilege of talking to one another.
Privilege of talking to one another in the human body, that, from my understanding, it is a gift.
Yes.
It is a gift. And as hard as it can be, and as silly and confusing as it can be at times, what makes it all worthwhile sometimes is just cuddling the cat and eating the chocolate and taking the walk and noticing, things with fresh eyes.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Thank you, Randy. It's been a pleasure. So, I'd like to offer you a closing thoughts. How do people get in touch with you? Do you have anything coming up workshop wise that you want people to know about?
Yeah. I run various groups. So if someone wanted to get in touch with me, you can go to my website, randyspelling.com. I am also fairly active with content on Instagram, and that's also Randy Spelling.
So you have some great content. I've been following you and I've been sharing your content. You've had some really good stuff lately.
Thank you.
Yeah, really nice. So so go visit Randy. Maybe we'll get to visit with you again at some point.
That'd be great.
Until then, everybody go take your soul walk, put it on your calendar. I write things in on my calendar. I'm old school. I have an old, actual calendar. I'll write it in and then I'll just decide what day feels good. Like just you can kind of play with intuitively taking that walk whenever you need it.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you for listening, everybody. Thank you, Randy, again. And
thanks for having me.
Mahalo.
Mahalo.